I have never seen a mouse with this many features. It all comes packaged in this tiny little box. The Swiftpoint Z2 does everything. And when I say everything, I really mean it. It's got haptics, it's got joystick functionality, it's got more buttons than most mice could ever dream of, and it's weird looking. That's the most important feature of all, you know what I'm saying?
Just like me.
Oh wait, no, I needed that one.
Why is there a butt plug?
Oh, it just landed on the thing, that's why. Okay, these are the things that matter. The mouse with a bunch of accessories already on it, that we'll get to, and this little accessory box with more buttons and the replaceable bottoms, which we will also get to. There is genuinely so much to get to in the ShortCircuit. Whew. First thing, usually I would start at the top, but there's this very interesting magnetic joystick mode thing. Is there a name for such a device? Is this a joystick? This is the detachable joystick extender for the gyroscope that's inside this mouse. Yeah, you heard me right. This mouse, generally a two-dimensional moving object, has a gyroscope, which is, measures movement in 3D space, because you can kind of see, you can rock it back and forth. Not something I can say I've ever wanted in a mouse, but I can say I'm very intrigued by this. Let's take it off for now. Regular mouse mode, not so regular. There's nothing about this that's regular. I didn't really notice these comfort pads. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Sort of rubberized pads for grip and or comfort. The one on the thumb side makes sense to me. That's where my thumb naturally rests. This one kind of makes sense. My fourth finger sort of goes there because it wants to rest on that pinky scoop. I don't really get that one, but I'm also just not a rubber on my mouse kind of fella. It's gonna get gross and gunky and nasty just from use. And even if you don't use it, it'll turn to oil, baby. At the top, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-ish buttons, although the click on the mouse wheel is pretty wackadoodle. It's a very loose scroll wheel. The clicks are fairly satisfying. They use Omron switches, rated for 20 million clicks, which is not the worst I've ever seen. It's hard to stay focused with this thing because I just want to go on a tangent at every friggin' moment. This thing is crazy. Have you seen a mouse quite like this? The clickiness on the different buttons is fairly different. I like all of them. I don't love these lever ones that much, but the nice thing is you can change them with the buttons that came in. These are sort of the high profile, very obvious buttons, but there's also these lower profile ones. When was the last time your mouse made that sound? Sounds like friggin' a Donkey Kong Country sound. When you like throw the barrels and something dies.
I know exactly what you're
I think all the buttons feel pretty good and they sound just so incredible. On the side, we have 2 buttons. They're in a top-bottom configuration, not a front-back configuration, which I think in the heat of the moment, I would probably misclick a fair bit. We also have our OLED display, so all you home theater watchers out there, just get rid of your TVs. It's the era of the mouse display, baby. On the bottom, we have our tilt-enabled feet. So there's 2 different sets of feet. One is sort of the standard flat surface, and the other one is a tilt one, so that you can get a little bit of the gyro action without the joystick extender. So in games like Rainbow Six, where there's leaning, you could presumably assign that to a tilt function. But not only can you swap them, you can swap the angle at which they go in with those teeth at the top. That is genuinely something I have not seen on a mouse before. They even have the legend on here to show you that if you have the teeth on the outside, it's gonna tilt more versus on the inside, it'll tilt less. If I was configuring this for myself at home, I probably would jump right to the lock feet, but I don't think I'm doing this mouse a favor by not at least trying this when we play the games. Other than that, we have our PAW3395 sensor, which is good up to 26,000 DPI, 650 IPS and 50 Gs of acceleration. That's not a top-end sensor. I see a lot of companies that use it in their mice, advertise it as power efficient next to something like a PAW3950, which is the better sensor. But considering this is a wired mouse with a 6-foot cable, power efficiency is not my primary concern. It would be nice if wired mice allowed you to replace the cable easily, but that is not common. And then on the bottom, we also have these pins? Oh, these pins seem to be a debug interface, so you can problem solve with the mouse, get easier access to the internals, add accessories when they come, if they come. I was surprised to find out that this mouse is fairly successful. It was kickstarted in 2023 and it's had multiple rounds of production. People like this mouse. Now that I've locked in the tilt, it feels weird. Like my brain registers this as, wow, this mouse is really bad and wobbly, but clearly this is by design. I'm very curious how that's gonna feel in game. I'm also curious about these lower profile top buttons. My hands are, I'd say, medium. I've got medium small sausage fingers and a fairly big palm. And so I think I have a hard time holding this the way I want and not sort of resting on all the buttons at once. My fingers aren't big enough to get around everything and precisely press, but your experience with the shape is really gonna differ based on how big and what shape your hands are. I've swapped for the lower profile buttons and I immediately like that better. I can still easily press them sort of with the middle part of my fingers, but I'm not reaching around to get to this. I kind of think I would configure this mouse to be my primary left and right here with secondary functions on these top buttons. And then these actually would not be my primary clicks because the way I wanna hold it, which I've been told is more fingertip than claw. Thank you, internet. Although my palm does touch. I thought finger clip was just like straight up fingertips, and I don't have a big enough hand for that. Anyways, the way I wanna hold this, that works better for me to aim for these. I don't know what I would do with these buttons at the front. These don't seem that accessible to my hands. Productivity, that's not a problem. You could assign something to that, but in gaming, that is such a stretch, unless you're like giant hands McGee. But for me, I think I might actually configure it for these to be my primary buttons, but I'm curious because I know some of the buttons are pressure sensitive and have different features, but we're gonna have to find that out when we plug it into a computer after we tell you about our sponsor.
Ridge. Looking to sneak a little something special into a loved one's stocking this year? The Ridge 2.0 wallet is an excellent gift to give this holiday season. It's 10% lighter than the original wallet with a refresh on the money clip, the cash straps, and the AirTag attachments. If you have any issues with your wallet, Ridge will send you replacement parts free of charge. And they have a warranty in place to assist you if your wallet is lost, stolen, or damaged. So give a gift that someone will actually use or snag yourself a wallet and save up to 47% off with our link in the video description.
Mouse is plugged in, we're in the software, and we are in simple mode, although this is overwhelming. First things first, we can reassign all of our buttons, and as you can see on this screen, that is a lot of them, 13. But not only can you assign what the button does, you can add modifiers so that your left deep click with this force modifier that you can assign will do something, or you can add a scroll or movement or tilt or pivot as part of it. That is already so much more customization than I want. I have a feeling that if you're someone that likes to tinker with electronics and you just want to like try things and play with things, you can get lost in this absolutely bonkers menu. Up top, we have our profiles. Right now it's set to auto, which means that it's gonna swap between our different profiles automatically when it detects that we've changed games. So that's something to note, is that in each game, it'll show you what each thing is assigned to. That's actually super helpful because it's going to be hard to keep track of things. So it's nice you have a sort of a cheat sheet here. Wow, you can even customize exactly what you're gonna see in this game. Holy crap, movement, crouch, toggle, strafe left. I could assign taking screenshots to every time I tilt the mouse. I think that's gonna get me in trouble. Oh, that's fun. You could even assign actual scrolling to the tilt. So if you were using this in productivity settings, you could tilt to scroll. That's actually kind of neat. It's so specific. Use Phoenix Kit, use shield battery. I did not think you'd be able to assign this specific of a control outside of the game. This is bonkers. Okay, so that's our Apex Legend profile tweaked to my liking. We could add other ones if we wanted to. We can also look at our mouse memory usage because you can save up to 20 profiles on the mouse itself, which is pretty cool. One thing that I've sort of glossed over is this animated cube. That's not a button. What animated cube's not a button? That's what you want on your OLED screen. You can assign either to be blank or a custom message or show your current DPI or profile. Also your deep click forces. That's kind of fun to show you how hard you're pressing on stuff. Your tilt angle, or your firmware version. I don't think I need my firmware version permanently affixed to the side of my mouse. Instead, I'm going blank. No, I don't need to. You know what? It's wired. I don't need to worry about battery life. Hell yeah, just like I don't need to worry about this RGB eating my battery life. Yo, thanks RGB. It's so cool that you're exactly in a spot covered by my palm. Wow. What? Mouse manufacturers want to put RGB somewhere that will be visible in both photos when people are showing photos of their setups, but also when they are using it. It seems very short-sighted. It seems very stupid. Last thing we can change in here is our DPI. This is something that I've actually heard a complaint, is that because everything is assigned on a per game or software basis, if you change your DPI in one of them, it doesn't actually change them across all of them. I think that there should be some settings you're able to control outside of these individual profiles and just have your set DPI, so you don't have to manually set it. If I wanted to, I could add more DPI levels, but I don't, in fact, want more DPI levels. I wish they would go away. I only want the 800. So now I'm all set with my 800 DPI on my fairly heavy gaming mouse. They say it's 117 grams. Let's see what that actually is. 124 grams. I'm wondering if it's 117 if you take the skates off closer. That's fairly heavy for a gaming mouse, especially a wired one. But if you are buying this mouse, I don't think you're buying it for light, simple, fast Twitch gaming. I think this mouse is sort of better suited for an MMO play style where you need access to a lot of buttons. And I was thinking about that as I was prepping for this. This actually is such a better configuration of buttons for MMO mice than MMO mice are themselves, because MMO mice is generally like 12 buttons or so on the side in rows. So it's easy access, but I feel like there's gotta be so many misclicks. If you use an MMO mouse, let us know in the comments below. I don't miss wired mice, let me tell you. Having to friggin' babysit a wire, buddy, I can't take care of you. I can barely take care of myself. And here we are, it's working. This mouse is very heavy. I think my hand would get tired. I'm really that weak now. Moving 120 grams of mouse is a challenge. So I tilt it left 1.5 degrees. I'm gonna inspect my weapon. It's like I'm doing it in the game. Whoa! Oh! Yeah, it would actually be very useful in Rainbow Six, where you actually lean, so more tactical shooters. I actually could see the use in that. However, I know when I was very competitive in it, you're pretty used to the keyboard shortcuts. So I think this is a neat option, and I think there's a lot of situations where this is cool, but I don't think the tilt is gonna push this thing over the edge for me. I will try the joystick thing after though. I'm also kind of over the tilt already. Let's get rid of it. I don't like it. This is a pretty solid mouse. It doesn't feel as snappy as I think I want it to be. It might just be that the weight is making it feel like it's getting more acceleration than I necessarily want. The shape is comfortable, the buttons feel excellent. And one thing of note is that our testing showed that the latency is fairly high compared to other mice. We were getting a mean of about 5 milliseconds of input latency, which is really high. Like if I'm looking for gold standard, it's below 1 millisecond. I can definitively say this is not the mouse for really competitive gamers. This is not the right choice for you if you are looking for every edge you can get. It's only 1,000 hertz polling rate. This is not a top end sensor. However, if you are interested in just having a mouse that you've never had before, something completely different, and you like messing around, this thing's friggin' sweet, man. I'm having fun. I like assigning my clicks to this, digging that. The form factor was the thing that looked the stupidest to me, but having all these buttons at easy access is actually kind of the killer feature for me. It's a mouse that's really focused on features over functionality. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm a big fan of products that are different and that try something, and I feel like with Swiftpoint Z2 is less about all of these features being the future of mice and maybe shotgun approaching it, seeing what people like and going with that. They might refine on the Z3. They might make a new wireless lineup, which would be friggin' sweet. And so I think this is a really neat idea. This is not a mouse that I can strongly recommend for gaming in particular, but I know there's a ton of people that just like fooling around in software and trying things. And honestly, this might be a friggin' sweet MMO mouse or even a productivity mouse because these buttons are configured in a way that makes them easily accessible. It's been a long time since I felt like I can easily press 13 things this easily and fairly comfortably. The biggest hesitation I have is the price. This mouse is $230 regular. It's on sale for $170. And this is one of those products that I understand why it is that price, because there's just so much going on. However, that's not a price I would be willing to pay, and I don't think there's a giant audience for it. However, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty neat mouse, and I hope that you get the chance to play with it because it really is quite unique without being just a gimmick. I can see a lot of uses for this. In fact, I want to try something where I use the tilt functionality fully. Fuck it, we're doing Burnout Paradise. Something that's interesting, I'm configuring my tilt so that I'm able to control a car in a game. You can see it working here. Boop, 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 boop. However, if you put the joystick attachment on, it stops reading the tilt. It's becomes a different thing. It's just full gyro mode. That's neat. Okay, we're using the gyro functionality to control our car. Wow, this is not good. I would way rather be using an actual joystick or a controller. It's cool that it's there, and I think in flight sims it'd be a little bit better, but I don't think that if you're someone who's taking either racing or flight sim seriously, this is the best option. And so I stand by my soft recommend for people that like to tinker and mess around with things. If that's you, it's pretty freaking sweet. If you're someone that wants just these buttons, there's a bunch of other gaming mice with a bunch of buttons. Either you can get an MMO mouse or the Rocket Tie-On, which I haven't used. It just seems okay, and it's sort of similar amount of buttons. But if you just want a good gaming mouse, there's a measurable amount of options that you could get. There's the Keychron lineup, or we've recently unboxed the Logitech Superlight 2C, which you could watch me do that as you continue your short circuit journey. Don't ever stop, don't ever click away. You are no longer allowed to watch anything else other than short circuit, okay? I don't know what you're getting in return, but I like this deal.